For many years, the Vatican has been looking at the same invisible terrestrial entities, and I think also at things like Planet X and other incoming objects. And they well know that our planet will be struck. They know that we're being visited, that we're being monitored, and that they are covering all of this up. Part of it is to, keep us in the dark so that we don't panic, sort of a thing, but the other is to maintain control over us.
What we have learned is that reality is much bigger than we originally supposed. Reality consists not only of things that we can see and observe with our eyes and ordinary telescopes, but things that we can't see with our eyes.
To maintain power and control over the masses, you deny them the information, you deny them the education, you deny them the truth. So this disclosure project is formulated in such a way as to hide the truth. They are going to, and I'll cut to the chase here, as I like to do, they will in disclosure say that we are being visited and have been visited by intelligent entities who in fact are, as I describe them, the benevolent ancestors from the stars.
Our discoveries of invisible terrestrial entities has been independently verified by American astronomers, also according to publications available in the internet.
I think that the disclosure will be that they are saying our ancestors have come here to rescue us from ourselves, to solve all of the world's problems, and we need to turn ourselves over to these ancestors, follow their lead, follow their technology, do whatever we're told, because they are benevolent. And it is quite the opposite. There is nothing benevolent about what is about to come upon this earth. A lot of new topics have popped up, not just CERN, but antimatter and all kinds of occult, nefarious things happening. There's just a lot that's coming together, what I like to call the coalescence of topics that are falling under the large umbrella of disclosure.
Since the dawn of our civilization, all the way to the time of this breaking news, we humans believed that everything that exists up there is only what we can see with our eyes and with our optical instruments. Well, things have changed now, because we have established the existence of entities existing in our terrestrial environment. And these entities are completely invisible to our eyes as well as to our optical instruments, but are fully visible with new instruments, therefore dramatically enlarging our conception of the perceivable universe, with far-reaching possibility of future development and discoveries that perhaps are beyond our imagination at this time.
Thunder Energies is out of Florida, and Dr. Santilli is the chief scientist at Thunder Energies Corporation, and he's the one who has been doing, I would say, about 50 years of research into antimatter itself, and has developed his own mathematical language, which is a complete departure from the standard model of mathematical language of trigonometry and that sort of thing that is used in standard physics, standard science today to write out the theorems and the formula that we typically see in science.
This is the greatest scientific discovery since Copernicus. It's bigger than Copernicus. The idea that we're not alone, it'll change everything. We have physical evidence.
He describes mathematically antimatter by not simply putting a negative sign in front of the standard model mathematics and calling it good. He's actually come up with a whole new language of mathematical formula and symbols.
Is designed to detect antimatter in deep space. By antimatter, we mean an entity with characteristics that are the exact opposite of ordinary matter, including the index of refraction of light, which is opposite. As you can see in the diagram, we have two telescopes, the Santilli and the Galileo. Now, if you look closely, you'll see that the only real difference between the two is the lens. Notice that the Galileo uses a convex lens, whereas the Santilli telescope uses a concave lens. Now, when ordinary light passes through the Galileo telescope with the convex lens, that lens focuses the light and can be recorded, or the image recorded, by a digital camera. Should antimatter light pass through the convex lens, it would merely be dispersed along the walls of the telescope and not be focused at all. Now, the exact opposite happens with the Santilli telescope. When antimatter light passes through the concave lens, it is then focused and provides an image that can be recorded by a digital camera. Ordinary light would be dispersed among the walls of the telescope.
Thorough vetting and thorough peer review has proven that he has detected antimatter, and as he calls them, antimatter entities.
Galileo originally conceived and constructed his telescope for discovery in deep space. But as we all know, Galileo telescope is today used for all sorts of terrestrial view. Our telescope had essentially the same fate, because it was originally conceived for the detection of antimatter galaxy way deep into space. However, to our great surprise, we discovered that our telescope can equally detect entities in our terrestrial environment that are completely invisible to our eyes, to our binoculars, or to Galileo telescope, but they are fully visible in cameras attached to our telescope, for which reason we call them invisible terrestrial entities, ITE. We have detected at least two types of ITE. The first type, also called dark ITE, essentially consists of entities leaving a dark image in the background of digital cameras attached to our. This type, also called dark ITE, essentially consists of entities leaving a dark image in the background of digital cameras attached to our new telescope. And the second type, called bright ITE, essentially consists of entities leaving this time a bright image in the background of digital camera attached to our telescope, often visible without any enlargement.
Yeah, in their photographic images, not only are they seeing dark streaks, but they're actually seeing light and dark objects that are moving on the photographic film. Now, I haven't seen any video images, but they are showing and they're publishing still images. I'm sure they're capturing video as well. But they are not emitting light. What they're actually doing, they are annihilating matter. Well, when that happens, there is energy released. This is very similar to a nuclear fission, not a fusion, but a fission type of reaction where you're seeing the splitting of atoms and then energy is released in the form of photons and gamma rays and alpha and beta rays. But anyway, the point is they're light and dark because of the energy levels that they give off, depending on the type of annihilation and the type of material that they're encountering causing that annihilation. But this is a whole new form of physics. The thing that is so important is that not only are we saying, hey, it appears that by definition they're seeing ghosts or spirits. I mean, that's monumental enough to say you can see spirits with a telescope. But to actually prove that there is antimatter that perhaps, now he doesn't go to that, I'm making the leap, but if he's defining it as an entity, it is possible that it's intelligent.
I'm a scientist, formerly from MIT, Harvard, and other leading institutions around the world. As such, my duty is that of documenting the existence, quote unquote, of those entities. The question what those entities are must be answered by our government, because those entities appear to conduct unauthorized surveillance of rather sensitive civilian, industrial and military installations.
I'm beginning to see that there's some crossover in my areas of research. I think Dr. Santilli has hit upon something legitimate. Again, it's been thoroughly vetted and here has hit upon something legitimate. Again, it's been thoroughly vetted and peer-reviewed, his research and his findings and his evidence. One of the crossovers I'd like to step into that this video presents is the connection to the Vatican.
God's word tells us that these are demons. They're not aliens. That is false. Deception.